Good afternoon, everybody. Let me just acknowledge a few people. Dr. Tom Okurot, the ED of NEMA, Ms. Jamison Erwin, Manager of Nature for Development, UNDP, Mr. Steve Brumby, Senior Director, and Ms. Sam Hyde, Senior Program Manager, National Geographic Society, Mr. Oscar Venter, Director, Conservation Solutions Lab, University of Northern British Columbia. Let me acknowledge all of you who are connected from different countries. Let me acknowledge colleagues in Uganda who are here. Let me thank you all for all the hard work in preparing this very interesting and very novel initiative. So I'm really excited to join you for this workshop on mapping nature for people and planet. I'm also thrilled to be doing this virtually, thanks to the new norm imposed on us by the COVID pandemic. And a few hours ago, I also had an interview with CNBC in the comfort of the house. So really, this is really new in many ways. Now, since this meeting is happening in Uganda, I thought I'll just share a few reflections and put the conversation in context and try to connect what we are doing with the happenings in the country. Uganda, as you know, is blessed with some of the world's richest biodiversity. Internationally and in Africa. For its size, Uganda is amongst those countries endowed with the greatest diversity of animal and plant species. And so to mention a few, although Uganda occupies 2% of the world's area, with a recorded 18,783 species of fauna and flora, it's among the top 10 most biodiverse countries in the world. Uganda also hosts 53.9% of the world's a population of mountain gorillas, and most of the time people don't know, but the gorillas actually are here, and we host 50% of that. Uganda has about 11% of the world's recorded species of birds, 50% of Africa bird species. We also have 7.8% of the world's mammal diversity, and I can go on and on. I'll be happy to share a few of my talking points with you. So really the country is well positioned when it comes to the region and the world in terms of what it offers. But the biggest challenge in Uganda and what Uganda is facing is the loss of biodiversity due to environmental and natural resource degradation, including deforestation and wetland encroachment, which needs to be minimized to sustain her biodiversity, but importantly also to contribute to the country's national development processes, which is the Vision 2040 and the third National Development Plan. Colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, the role of nature cannot be underestimated. Nature provides food, fresh water, clean air, and what we need to survive. Nature also helps to protect us from flooding and other effects of extreme weather and climate change. The current high water levels in Victoria, Lake Victoria, and the flooding of Lake Victoria, I don't know what most of you have been following it, but there's a big issue now. The river now and other rivers in many parts of Uganda are a testimony of the impact of climate change and wild-scale degradation of the environment and natural resources. For example, Uganda's forest cover has declined to 9% in 2019 from 24% in 1990. The wetland cover has also gone down to 8.9% from 23%. So that is huge. And for us in UNDP, helping Uganda to preserve nature and also to be able to contribute to climate change mitigation and adaptation is very key. Likewise, ecosystem strategies to conserve and restore land and ocean ecosystems are generally more cost-effective, durable, and have more co-benefits than other strategies to adapt to climate change. The important thing for us here is a need to invest in nature, because the cost of inaction is quite high. And I think for every investment that we made in nature, the multiplier effect, it's much more. And therefore, the need for us to work together, government, civil society, private sector, to really boost our investment in that area. Uganda has also set an ambitious target to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 22% by 2030. That's huge. And here in UNDP, we are supporting the country in that regard through the NDC, the Nationally Determined Contributions commitment that the country has made, but also through the National Development Plan 3 that the government has set before its eyes in the next 5 years to contribute to. Now, to accomplish these ambitious goals, we must link our actions on nature, on climate, and on sustainable development. To achieve that, we must prioritize our investment to not only maintain Uganda's iconic biodiversity and maximize our climate change mitigation and adaptation efforts, but to also deliver across our national priorities around water security, food security, disaster risk reduction, jobs, and livelihoods. Uganda is planning to focus on infrastructure investments in energy, road, water, air, rail, industrial parks, and mechanized irrigation schemes to support increased productivity in line also with the country's own industrial strategy for export promotion. But when we do these things, we believe that UNDP supports the country, and indeed in partnership with others, it's important so that these things are done in a very sustainable manner. Now, in doing this and in achieving all these sort of magnificent things that we're talking about, spatial data will be helpful in this endeavor. As we enter the fourth industrial revolution, I must say we have already entered into it. It is important that we utilize this instrument to facilitate the way we do business when it comes to environment, climate change, and others. Nearly 2,000 satellites orbiting the Earth right now, and with a bird's eye view, you can be able to see in real time what is happening. In Uganda, UNDP is working with various partners, the Green Climate Fund, the Austral Development Agency, the government's own presidential initiative on wetlands, to restore about 8,000 hectares of wetlands by 2025. This project is also partnering with the Office of Information and Technology in our Bureau for Management Support to utilize satellite and space technology to monitor land use changes. And also our Accelerator Lab, which is a lab that helps us to rethink development, to reimagine development in the 21st century, is also doing a very interesting work on deforestation and also developing data sharing platforms so that we can have information in real time. So these tools are excellent resources, but indeed they do not and are yet not providing the full answers to all we need. These tools do not yet accurately identify where to take action to protect, restore, and sustainably manage nature for conservation, climate change mitigation, ecosystem provision. They do not yet enable Uganda to run customized analysis to identify where to take action based on national priorities and commitments. But the scientific foundation exists for us to do this. And we have some of the world's best scientists in this workshop, and I'm very delighted really about having more than 45 experts coming from different countries who can guide us to develop the methods for a pilot in Uganda. There is political will in Uganda right from His Excellency the President, President Yoweri Museveni, on the restoration of fragile ecosystems, particularly wetlands and associated catchments. We could ride on this support to map the connections across relevant landscapes, commitments, and policies. And for us in UNDP, this is very, very crucial because under the new UN reforms, we are expected to play the role of an integrator. And simply put, we are providing a platform for the United Nations Development System as a whole, which comprises over 40 agencies, programs, and funds, to be able to bring the SDGs together in an integrated way. So in this particular case, environment and biodiversity is not a standalone, but we need to look at interconnection between this and national development process and other sustainable development goals. As we look forward, many are calling 2020 a super year for biodiversity. 2020 is a year that the world will agree on a new global biodiversity framework. It is a year that the Paris Agreement will go into effect. It's one of our last chances to build global political will to take action for nature that will address the twin climate and biodiversity crisis. UNDP is committed to building the science and really galvanizing political will that we need to do and to put in place as we try to leverage spatial data in advancing the cause and in making sure that it informs national development processes. So from where we sit, this workshop really plants a seed for this ambitious goal. You have in your hands the power to start something novel, and together we can do it. Climate and nature-based solutions, energy really play a key role. And I think for us, I think COVID-19 has taught us something. And whilst we talk about COVID in health terms or socioeconomic terms, the sustainability dimensions becomes very key. The earth has breathed a bit because of COVID, and we need to make sure that the foundation that is there and the momentum that we have now, we can capitalize on it. As many countries try to build back better and recover, we do that in a sustainable way. So I invite you to use these 3 days really to take advantage of the diverse group that we have in the room and around the world, and from here in Uganda, to reflect on these important issues. I invite you to take advantage of the agenda which the organizing team has put together. Once again, thank you to the team that has worked day and night on this, to really explore your creativity, build new collaborations, and have fun as well as you explore this very complex and dynamic topics. As UNDP, really, we are committed to this initiative. We are committed to using this to contribute to the development priorities of Uganda, to the sustainable development goals. And also for us in the UN here, it's very timely because we are developing our cooperation framework, which would inform the work of the United Nations in the next 5 years. As UNDP, we work very hard to make sure that environment, climate, and biodiversity is really positioned in this. And we do hope that we can also use the outcomes of this work to shape the way the United Nations, even in Uganda, can contribute to this. So I'm really excited, and I wish us all very fruitful deliberations and look forward to the outcomes of this very essential work. Thank you once again.